All right. Let's pray and we'll jump right in. All right. Thank you, Father, for the day and our time together, for the opportunity that we have to share together. I pray that you will give us patience and endurance. I pray you will also give us open minds, focused hearts. We'll be able to take today what you have for us as we grade our past and teach the next week. We love you. We thank you in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. I am grading 4. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, grading 4 and teaching 5. All right, here we go. I'm going to back 1. There we go. We're going to grade right here, but I'm going to leave this up because if I need to make reference to something, no doubt it's up here. You're still probably going to have to focus on your book, but you can see where it is on the page by me pointing to it here. I will read the Greek. If you will read to me your English, I think that's only fair. Right? Seems reasonable. Ha'anthropos kanoskai ta naman. Anybody can read?
The man knows the law.
The man, he is knowing the law. I still like the ing on there just because later on, when we get to the aorist.
Well, I have it up here in the wooden.
Wooden is perfect.
Okay.
Ha doulos feraidoron. Oh wait, now, by the way, if you have a question, you just have to speak up. So, if any of the scribes vary from the other Pharisees, you just have to say so. Okay? All right, here we go. Doulos feraidoron.
Slave is bringing a gift.
Mm-hmm. The servant or the slave, he is bearing a gift. Apostolos legai legon.
Apostle speaking a word.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very good. Ekgeiston karpan. No noun. Yeah.
You are having the fruit.
Yep. You are having the fruit. Now, let me show you something real quick. We'll diagram over here in the corner. Basically, what you normally have, and let me even do this real quick, because I think this is important. You have nominative, you have your verb, you have your accusative, you have your dative, and then underneath any of these could be your genitive ablative. Describing any of them could be a genitive ablative, just like that, okay? So, on this one, you have ekais, and then ton karpon. Okay? Now, anytime you do this, you want to write in English any word you supply. Do not write in a Greek word that is not in the text. That is just a recipe to mess you up and anybody else who reads it. So, what I really recommend is that you kind of get this down in your mind. Actually, this will be lesson number 7, but I always start teaching it early because I want to teach it over and over and over. And then this is the sentence that she just read, because the you is supplied because this is a present, indicative, active, second person single. So that's how that works. Okay? Yes, please.
So all of these like twos or whatever, all these like are those articles?
Those are all articles.
You don't really have to pay attention now, though, do you?
Well,
like vocab, just like...
You still want to, I mean, it goes with the vocab word, but you still want to, if it's there, you need to put the. Yeah, but other than that, that's all it is. Yeah, just the. Okay? Hoya delphoi akuasin tus lagus tu angalu.
The brothers are hearing the words of the messenger.
Mm-hmm. The brothers, they are hearing the words of the messenger, of the angel. Whatever. We don't know. I mean, if he has wings, we're going to call him an angel. Amen? Mm-hmm. If he's just got legs, we'll call him a messenger. But, Pepera Dora Tohitaro.
We were sending gifts to the temple.
Mm-hmm.
I guess. Now, and that was a question that I had too is with the, what you had us read here as far as to, like this was adding some in the house to the crowd. How are we just supposed to kind of?
Well, the
Yes,
case,
everyone.
yeah, the case gives you at least a good guess.
Okay.
Then chapter 8 will be
Okay.
prepositions.
Okay. 'cause
And
I was
then you'll
like-
be able to sharpen that. You're still going to have a question. I mean, just like in
Okay.
English, there's a concrete and an abstract understanding for almost all of the prepositions. So, don't worry about it. I mean, sometimes it'll be obvious, sometimes you're going to have an opinion, and sometimes we'll debate it in here.
Okay.
Kick it around. So,
Is either one correct on the previous one? Because it works both as genitive and ablative.
yes,
Okay,
either one.
either one.
Yeah, context will kind of tell you, is it talking about source? You know, it's like this, DLI, it's the same form. So is it dative of subset, location, or instrumentality of means? So, you know, you're going to have three choices. They're all the same form, three different cases. Context will tell you, you know, is it over the fence or with the bat? Or, you know, mud hens. He's a team of the mud hens, a dative subset. Okay? All right. Lepelman, tus, oikus, tone, and delphone.
We are seeing the houses of the brothers.
Mhm. Mhm. Hoi huioi ton anthropon, agusen tus delus.
The sons of the men are leading the servants.
Mhm. The sons of the men, they're leading the servants. Everybody agree? Right. Lambano dora carpon kai artu. Go ahead. You don't get in trouble for eating too many.
I'm receiving gifts of fruits and bread.
Uh-huh. And plural fruit, single bread. Which probably means it was a big basket of barley bread and another basket full of all kinds of different fruit. So you had plural fruits and single bread. Now, it didn't mean that there was only one piece of bread. It probably meant it was one kind of bread. Whereas it didn't mean there were necessarily multiple baskets of fruit, but a single basket of many fruits. And that is your first glimpse into hermeneutics. That's why we're in this class, so that you can notice those differences and then begin to academically and spiritually speculate as to what that might mean. Okay? I told you that this class was not going to answer all your questions, but it is going to give you a new set of questions. Just like that one. So, it's really good. Graphum and toisa delphois.
We are writing to the sons.
Brothers. Mhm.
Oh.
That's okay. We also be sons. And here is one of your logical things. Of course, we only have three words here, okay? But they could be writing with the brothers, but probably not. They could be writing on the brothers. Maybe they're tattoo artists. Again, seems unlikely. What makes the most sense in a short sentence is they're writing a letter to the brothers. So, there was an old, Dr. David Cooper had what he called the golden rule of interpretation, okay? And this is a silly, simple rule, but it's a classic. When the plain sense makes good sense, seek no other sense. Doesn't that make sense? It does, really. When the plain sense makes good sense, seek no other sense.
Is that Occam's razor?
Is it?
Occam's razor is picking the
Isn't that picking the most
easiest
obvious
or
choice?
most obvious choice.
Yeah. Yeah, see, I didn't even think of that. I tell you who David Cooper was, because you don't know him, but you know the guy that he discipled. He discipled Tim LaHaye. And so, but that was his golden rule of interpretation. When the plain sense makes good sense, seek no other sense. Yeah, I guess you could say that hermeneutically that would be, because it's the, is it the most reasonable choice is the most obvious choice or something like that?
Yeah, if you gotta, if the obvious choice works, you probably don't need to be going and looking.
And look for other ones.
Yes.
Yeah, now, Holmes, Sherlock Holmes, I just finished a volume of his, and he had the opposite. When you eliminate the impossible, whatever remains, however unlikely, becomes probable. Remember? Have you read that recently?
Mm-mm.
Does the new Sherlock Holmes, do they go over any of the things that are in the book?
Yes,
Do they?
they do some really fantastic
I haven't watched the
bringing it
new
in,
one.
but
I think I watched them.
Okay. I've heard it's good. Yeah, I read.
That's
I
true.
watched
You read
some,
it,
but yeah, I mean,
That's
oh
classic.
man, I just enjoyed a whole volume of Sherlock Holmes stories. Just incredible. I mean, Conan Doyle was a great writer. He really was.
Didn't he hate Sherlock Holmes and tried to kill him off a couple times, but people loved him so much?
I wouldn't doubt it. Here's the funny thing is that the wealthiest artist in America was the guy that did Thomas Kincaid. He hated that stuff. Absolutely hated it. And he said it is the stupidest thing in the world. There's no real art to it because all he was doing was, light. Remember? But man, he made money with it. And people loved it.
and Geddes hates babies.
Yeah.
No.
Well, the point is that y'all read Calvin and Hobbes? You remember Watterson? Yeah, Bill Watterson was the artist for Calvin and Hobbes, and he said that what he loved to do was Calvin and Hobbes, but he couldn't get anybody paid for it. He worked at Hallmark shoebox cards forever, drawing for them. He hated it, but he said when the stack of rejection letters was only shorter than the stack of unpaid bills, you drew greeting cards. And so, until finally he did get somebody to pick up Calvin and Hobbes, and then of course, the rest, as they say, is history, and he made a lot of money. But until he could get somebody to pick it up, man, you got to do what pays the bills, and Sherlock Holmes paid the bills. It may have been formulaic, although I still think it was pretty unique in a lot of his things. It was formulaic, and paid the bills. So
Is this one here, that we did, the writing one to the brothers?
Yes.
Is this similar to that one up there?
it is extremely similar to this one.
Where the we comes over here?
Exactly, the we is here. That's exactly right. So anytime there's no nominative and you have to borrow the pronoun, you can't make it a noun, but you can borrow the pronoun from the predicate. Because what you can't do is you can't take the accusative and put it over here in this slot. See, that's what this is about. You don't get the chance to take this word and put it over here. It's the accusative. It has to be the object of the verb by the noun. So this is really what you want to write somewhere at the front. Because on one of these sentences it's all messed up. You just plug things in where they belong and bring it in, and you're probably 90% right.
That was my other question is the word order. How do you know?
Matter of it.
But because of this, we can determine it.
You can fix the word order. That is the only way you know the difference between dog bites man and man bites dog. Is which one's nominative and which one's accusative.
Okay.
It doesn't have to make sense. Maybe the man did bite the dog, But it would have to be nominative accusative.
Now, do we have that in English? Okay.
Not
I was gonna
directly.
say, yeah.
We actually rely on word order. That's
Yes,
why
yeah.
when you get to Star Wars, the Yoda speak is so funny. Because
It's kind of the
all they do is mix up the word order.
yeah.
And then you have to reassemble it based on other clues. But they can't mess it up too much, or it would actually be nonsensical. Yeah.
Mm.
To the I go store. Wow, that's too messed up. But to the store I go, you can mix that up and still you got it. Even though in typical English I would say, I am going to the store. But I could say, to the store I go, because you still have subject predicate together, just at the wrong end of the sentence, based on the prepositional phrase. So, anyway, all right, I'm sorry, back to where we were. Blepo ton kurion to oiko. Anybody? Give it a shot. I can read.
I am seeing the Lord at the house.
Mm-hmm. I am seeing the Lord. So there's I is a supplied pronoun. I'm seeing the Lord, obviously accusative, and then in, by, near, under, over, beside the house. In is probably fine, but any of them are fine. Hoi apostoloi den uskusen ton naman kai den uskusken tus anthropus.
The apostles are knowing the law and they are teaching the men.
Mm-hmm. This is a double predicate. This one looks like this. So you have the apostle, and then he is knowing, Kai, and teaching, just like that. That's what that looks like.
Diagramming it.
I love it. I know it. I know it. Oh, they get hairier than this. I diagram for a grad class. I diagrammed the entire book of Jude on running computer paper, and it just I covered 2 walls with it, or two layers of the wall with it.
Wow.
And to build the diagram, I wrote it basic in just like 4 different colors. And then what I started doing, because I spread it out, then I started making all my exegetical notes. And I had to be careful, because one time I was writing on it and I was using a Sharpie, and it bled through onto the paint of the wall. I was in trouble. But I didn't mean to. I knew it would bleed through, I just wasn't thinking. But it was incredible. I mean, I had notes, and it was a bizarre and fun thing to do. And you'll get to that point, but not until spring break when we start diagramming 1 John. Okay? I even offer through Brooks an advanced class, and what we start is in 1 John 1:1, and we diagram all 5 chapters.
Why does everybody choose 1 John?
Simplest point, light, life, and love. It is very common. Several people know many verses in 1 John. 1 John has a very limited vocabulary. Many of the books then choose the vocabulary and work. I know if you're in academics, it's called teaching to the test, but we do it all the time anyway, and you teach to the test. This vocab ends with the translation of 1 John. You could almost do the same in 1 Peter, but not as many people know very many verses out of 1 Peter. 1 Peter is a book about suffering, so it's not as much fun to read. There's just several reasons why, and all of them are simplicity and commonness. So, there are others that are equally difficult at the other end of the spectrum. The writings of Luke and then Luke in Acts are complex. He was a physician. He used all kinds of participles. Matthew has a lot of Hebraic expressions, and you'd have the reading, and then you'd have this parenthesis of, yes, this is a Hebrew word, and then of course the Gospel of John you could do that, but then there's 21 chapters instead of just 5. I can go right down the line. Paul was a Pharisee of the Pharisees, and so Paul was as academic as Luke, and so a lot of Paul's writings are difficult. Hebrews, which I think was written by Barnabas, what makes it unique is that it has a lot of third-person imperatives, which we don't even cover that here. But it's unique. Revelation, of course, you don't want to do that. That's just a mess of its own. Jude would be easy, but that's only one chapter long, and so it's not actually long enough. Philemon is that because it was a letter written to Philemon, a friend, not an academic, about Onesimus, but again, it's only one chapter long. So in the end, out of 27 books, 270 chapters, the 5 chapters in 1 John are about the best. To start. Then we can expand from there, but to start. Good question, thank you. Let's continue. Hoi anthropoi blepusen apostolos to hetero kai to oiko. Give it a shot.
Give it a shot.
Sure.
The men are seeing the apostles at the temple and at the house.
Mm-hmm. There's no article in front of apostles. So the men, they are seeing apostles
Okay.
by the house, or by the temple and by the house, or in the house, or in the temple and in the house, either one. Just the only thing that I would correct on that was just X out your little the.
Okay.
Okay? Good job. Ha angelos legai legus stanitu, tois anthropos kai tois huios.
This one is more confusing.
That's why I'm here. Go ahead, give me what you got.
The angel, he is speaking the words about death of the people and of the son.
Ah, very close, very close.
He was prophesying.
Okay, here's how I would say it. The angel, he is speaking words of death. Okay? So the angel, he is speaking, and then words of death. Okay? To the men and to the sons. Okay? So they become the subset of the subject right here, dative. Mm-hmm.
How does the he get in there?
Which one?
Where you said the angel he is. why-
Oh, I always put my pronoun in my predicate. Later you don't need to. On the smooth, don't. Then it becomes redundant.
Just the messenger is speaking, or the
He is
angel
speaking, or yeah, the messenger is speaking, correct. Uh-huh. Okay? And that's what that looks like diagrammed. Yeah, they start getting a little more complex. A little more fun.
Is there only so many? Like,
Oh,
types?
you have no idea. You can have stands and drop downs and spreads, and sometimes you can get a comma, especially Paul. Man, never met a comma he didn't like. His sentences could go on and on and on. I'll have a page, and the subject is not even on that page anymore. It's on the page before it. Yeah, it can get a lot of fun. You won't have that in 1 John. Again, they go back to fisherman speak. Pretty simple.
She could come at 5 o'clock one time.
Oh yeah, you were in there when I was doing some of that. Yeah, you want to see what it looks like? Come to the 5 o'clock class on Ephesians. Just peek in and spend a little bit of time. Because I have there the entire book of Ephesians diagrammed. The whole thing.
Do you have like the whole Bible diagram?
No,
yet?
ma'am. No. First of all, it is incredibly difficult to diagram in Hebrew because it goes the wrong way. So it would only be 270 chapters in the New Testament. I have, now you're really taxing me. Where's John? The 7 churches of Revelation. That's Ephesians, Philippians, John, Beatitudes, Christmas story for Coniah. Acts 2. I bet I've done a fifth of the New Testament by hand, diagrammed, which would be 50 some chapters. Now that's over time, so not near all of it. And I have translated like my graduate project in Genesis was, we translated the entire book of Genesis in Hebrew, which means you wrote it out in Hebrew and then I did what you're doing, but we did that in Hebrew. That was fun.
It's not too much of a bunny trail. Could you give us a quick legend for the different, I mean, why is there a backslash on this one? And
Oh, of course. This marks the indirect object. This is, oh, and that's not even right. Boy, what's that doing there? Okay, this is the this is the main line. Okay, and then this is your predicate marker. So your nominative and your verb, and this is the predicate marker. This is the object marker. And then this is the indirect object marker. Then here's where you put a conjunction. Now, I got to tell you, I am doing this super simple. When we get into the distinction between participles, adverbs, and adjectives, you actually hang these things at 3 different angles. So don't worry about that tonight. You hang it like this, or like this, underneath here. So far, I'm just dropping them straight down. Then the other thing, you were asking me how complex they can get. Then you've got relative clauses that come up like you are having the fruit, I could say, into the earth. Okay? And then what I do is I have to raise my prepositional phrase up on stilts, or my relative clause, or my interrogatives, my questions. See? Because if I ask you a question, I'm asking you the question, therefore the interrogative is actually mounted on the noun you. You, are you going to the store? And so, are you going to the store is above you. And so, this is going to be pretty common. But again, this won't come up until after chapter 8. And if it's a simple sentence with a simple prepositional phrase, you can actually just put the prepositional phrase on the other side of that.
so in the sentence that had the bread and the fruit, where you have 2 direct objects,
That would be like this, except it would split right here instead of after this line. It would split after this line. Here, like this. See? You've got nominative, and then you have your verb. Okay, then you have your object line, but it would go like this. Okay. And then you would have direct object, or accusative. Accusative. Like that.
Who came up with this way of diagramming?
we killed it.
I'm sure they're dead, so digging them up now is not going to hurt them. To be honest, we have parts of speech whether you acknowledge them or not. And the thing is that if you don't understand the parts of speech, you then have less and less a precise method of communication. And so the diagramming actually codified, I'm sure, what people were already saying and doing. It's just that if I can teach you this way, then when you have one of those sentences that it's all mushed up, then you can unpack it and put it back into its right components and then read it. Now I'm teaching you English diagramming. We're taking Greek, putting it into an English diagram. Hebrew diagramming, for instance, we were talking about that a minute ago with the rest of the Bible. There is Hebrew diagramming. There are programs and methods of Hebrew diagramming. The elements of the Hebrew diagram are going to be the same. It's just all backwards because the sentence is reading right to left, but the diagrams all read left to right. So the answer to your real question is I don't know who came up with this. I know Mrs. Edwards beat it into us in 7th grade, and I've equally despised and thanked her in her death. Because it turned out to be something I've really, really found valuable in life and ministry. I hated her and it at the time. That's okay to say it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's my 7th grade English teacher. Everybody hates our 7th grade English teacher. That can't be unique. All right, let's move on. Okay, number 15. Akla stellai blapine. Note the infinitive. Ton kurion. Oh, and by the way, an infinitive is something that stands up on the stilt. You want to try it? It's a good one.
Crowd is wishing to hear the Lord.
Blepo is to see. But yes, exactly correct. The crowd, it is wishing to see the Lord. Okay? Number 16. Hoi huioi ferusin lithus to eiko. Number last. You don't want to miss this opportunity. They're bringing rocks. We don't know why.
The sons are bringing the stones to the house.
Uh-huh. The sons, they are bringing just stones, no the.
Okay.
Stones to the house. See, there's an article on to oiko and no article on lithus. So, the son, now we don't know whether they're bringing rocks to build an addition, whether they're bringing small rocks to throw through the windows. We don't know. Or stone the prophet, exactly, as we've talked about in our class. Exactly. But that's basically what that's about. Okay?
Above in 15.
Yes.
That verb means wishes or it means will. How do you know it's wishes?
Well, context might tell you that they were simply acquiescing. The crowd, it is willing to see the Lord.
Okay.
And that would not be a bad translation. It makes, I think, a little more sense to say they're wishing to see. To see implies the undone, and so you wish for something unaccomplished. But it could be they're willing. Yeah, and context again would tell you how far to stretch or push that either way. Okay? Good job. Good job. I love saying this. Tonight, everything you knew last week applies to tonight. How about that? How easy is that?
Good.
5 forms, 8 cases. The only thing that's different is that instead of ending with, with an omicron sigma, it ends with either an alpha or an eta. This is second declension, this is first declension. Everything else is the same. I mean it is just that simple. All you have to do is make up a new one of these cards right here. Yes, I'll show this. Boy, he's got these. This is really nice. You guys need to be sure to use these things. Make up a new little card like this for for first declension. Cases, endings, single, plural. I mean, everything is still G and C, gender, number, case. Second declension, first declension. Now, let me tell you about the first declension. The first declension is mostly feminine with a few masculine. Now, what's really cool about it is if it is a masculine word in the first declension, the article will be second declension masculine. Dead giveaway. Yeah, you're thinking already the question, what happens if there isn't an article there, Mike? And it can get a little dicey. But normally, there'll be an article, so normally it won't be any problem. Okay? Eventually you'll learn the first declension masculine nouns anyway, and so you won't have to worry about the article. But for the most part, if it's a masculine noun in the first declension, either an alpha or an eta ending, it'll have a masculine article in front of it. There'll be just as many articles in the first declension as second. Some of the words are obvious. Obviously, daughter is feminine, son is masculine. Just like rooster is a boy and hens are a girl. But some of them, because they give gender to everything, chairs and tables. I'm not sure how I would pick whether that should be a boy or a girl. They do. I mean, and it's just gender you learn. Just like you learned that bulls are boys, heifers are girls. Steers were still a little confused, but well, it is, but it wasn't. It was born something, and we undid it. But that's not the point. The important thing is that we can learn that they have gender because it's immensely helpful. Remember I talked to you about adjectives? every adjective will match the noun it modifies, just like the article does. GNC. So, if the sentence says the woman and the fat cow, you're going to know that it's not necessarily a fat woman, but it is a fat cow. And you definitely don't want to get that backwards. Amen? Not going to live.
No.
Right. So you know what fat modifies because it agrees with one of those in gender, number, and case.
And that's talking about some of the
That's the adjectives.
specific nature of
Mhm.
Greek.
hmm
Okay.
In English, you can mess that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glad the Bible wasn't written
Oh, I'm glad it wasn't written in English. We got enough lawyers just with our stuff. Can you imagine what this would look like? So, no, it really is. It's exactly right.
The cow's a female.
A cow?
A cow is a female. Heifer is a cow that has not had a calf. Bovine is just the
Cattle
species.
is more generic. Yeah. Yeah, see, we don't make that big a deal out of it. And so, yeah, I would have made that mistake. I would have said cows was a generic term. Cattle is actually the generic term. So, you've got that same thing, though, where you're going to learn the words, whether it's first declension or second declension. You're going to learn that it's masculine, feminine, and neuter. And as a result, everything you've learned so far simply applies to this lesson. What you'll want to do is, the bottom of page 5, well, it's 5.3, the first page, is you're going to want to make your little card, and you can make your endings or you can make an article card, either way. Now, it gets a little trickier though with first declension, which is why I think they teach second declension first. I think he says that in the book. Alpha and eta sometimes don't go well at the end of a word, and so you end up with modifications. If it's an A, it's short A. If it's a long A, it's like sky and skies. Fly and flies. You have insects, plural, flies, F-L-I-E-S. But a pilot flies a plane, that's F-L-Y-S. There is a rule that explains this. I don't remember what it is right now. But there is a rule that explains that. Well, I mean, come on, it's English. It's all messed up. The point is that some letters they need to be broken out and others can keep it. So what happens is you have like basilia, like our word basilica, basilia, and then glossa ends with an alpha. And so the letters that follow mostly the alpha endings. But it goes back and forth. What you'll need to do is you'll need to make your little chart, and go back here, make your little chart, and sometimes it'll be an eta, sometimes it'll be an alpha. You just have to be ready to go either way with it and recognize it if it stays short or if it goes long. But the endings are the same. Okay? The last thing I need to do tonight is read the vocab to you. Please.
Did we have articles for the other?
Yeah, turn back.
It's comma.
Did we make a card for it, or were we supposed to make a card for
Right,
it?
here's your articles. There's the articles for single, masculine, and neuter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you probably made an ending card. Where's your ending card? Show me your second declension card. And I'll tell you. See, you don't have to make an article card. Yeah, you made an ending card, and that's fine. You're going to make another one of those.
So is it kind of silly to try to learn both because they're always together?
They're always-
So just learn one side.
Learn one.
And then maybe pick up the other one later.
I tell you what, some people I say make an article card because it teaches you the ending and you recognize the article at the same time. That's pretty efficient. But other times, like with this, where the ending can kind of change depending on the letters that go in front of it, then it's not as handy. So since you started with endings, I'd make an ending card. And I'd stick with that. But either one is fine, because one will give you the other, because they do match every time. The article will always match G and C, the noun. Then later on we're going to find the adjectives always match. It's amazing, all the things. G and C is just as simple and common as it can be. And it's very, very consistent.
How come Greek never flourished?
Well, the irony to your question is it actually did for about 450 years, almost 500 years, which...
Quite common.
Or rather, what made it die?
The Vandals. The Vandals. They came from Northern Europe, tore down everything the Romans did. Now the Romans had migrated, though, from Greek to Latin as the capital of Rome moved from Rome to Constantinople. So as the capital moved east, the language actually moved into Latin more than Greek. So Greek was being abandoned in favor of Latin. By 400 AD, everything academic was Latin, not Greek. But there's a lot of similarities between the two. You've had Latin? Yeah.
I'm in it right now.
And
Yeah.
you've had Latin. And there are a lot of similarities. I've only had 1 year of Latin, but yeah, there are a lot of similarities. Now, as a result, though, what really brought down Latin, because Latin's as dead a language as Greek, is the end of the Roman Empire. When the Franks and the Vandals and all the groups from the north came down, the Germanic tribes wiped them out. Yeah, I know. And look at the word today. We still call Vandals vandalism. I mean, we really do. That's where the word comes from.
Yeah.
So, although they would not bear that proudly as I'm making it. All right, so let's go down. Let's look at 5.1. Okay, 5.1. I'm going to pronounce, not announce, pronounce all of the vocab words so you can hear them, write them out if you want to. Some of them you're going to know. Agape, agape, aletheia. We have a beautiful little girl in the church named Aletheia. She was named because the mother, they found out that she was expecting while she was taking Greek. Sarah? Yeah. That's dedication. I expect you to name your next child some Greek word. Although, ask me before you name them something you shouldn't. And it was like, oh man, I wouldn't have done that.
Like this next one.
Yeah, hamartia. Yeah, hamartia. If you study systematic theology, hamartiology is the study of sin. Basilia, basilia, which is like the Italian word basilica. Glossa, glossa. And Ron can tell you, we've been going over in the class what a glossary is. That's where that word comes from, glossa. Graphe, as in graphic. Didache, didache. Some of you may know the English word didactic, as in teaching, didactic teaching. That's where that comes from. Doxa, doxa. Not at long ago. Doxa. And you also know this word. Doxa logos. Doxology. Words of glory. That's what
cool.
the song means, Irene. You may, pardon me?
Can you say that again?
Yeah.
Irene. You may know a girl named Irene. Or you may have read the early church philosopher Irenaeus. I'm sorry.
No, peace, I guess. Huh?
It means peace. Ecclesia. Ecclesia. It's actually a compound word which means one's called out. What the church means is one's called out. Yes, please.
On teaching,
Uh-huh.
you made it sound like there was a D on the end and the beginning of the.
Didache.
Okay, so there's no D on the first syllable at the end.
No.
Okay.
Didactic. I maybe said that word that did, but that's the English word. No, didache. Didache. Entele. Commandment. Entele. Oh, this next word's a good one. It's in Matthew 28. Exousia.
Whoa.
Exousia. Exousia. Hemera. Rough breathing mark. Hemera. It's the word for day. Mathetes. It's hard to make that middle eta long. with our phonetic structure. So just know that that's what it is. Mathetes. Parabole, or parabole. It should be a short O. Parabole. Balo is the word to throw, and para, just like parallel. So a parabole is something you throw down beside so that you relate the unknown to the known, which is that's the essence of teaching. I'm teaching you Greek by telling you what it means in English. None of this class would make sense if you didn't know English. Much less Greek, right? But I mean, what I'm doing is my job is to relate what you know English to what you don't know.
So how did they get that to parabola?
Balo is the word. Balo means to throw, and then para means beside. So I take something you know and I put down something next to it so that you have a measure.
But a parabola.
Well, now that's a mathematical,
Yeah.
and that's a little different than, isn't that when two go side by side, they have the same curve?
It's
No, it's a.
like, maybe-
it's
Oh, like a parabolic.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
curve that.
Oh, yeah.
At least with light, if there's
Reflects back on
towards-
itself?
No, it'll assume the same angle. So
Yeah. Well, I would still say that it probably means it because it throws it beside. So, yeah, the light here reflects it.
actually, I'd go the other way. If you put a bulb right in the middle of that parabola
Yeah.
and then draw a line out
Oh,
to
yeah,
the parabola,
here, and it throws
it'll
it
go
out.
straight out.
Uh-huh.
It'll go straight out.
Straight out.
Yeah, thrown beside, I guess.
Yeah. But, yeah, I don't know for sure what it meant in math. I do know what a parabolic is, but like a parabolic mic, they use those at sports and things like that. But a parable, like Jesus told a parable, he would tell a parable of the mustard seed because everybody knew what that was, but then he would give it a heavenly meaning. Of course, if he just told what the heavenly meaning was, he was like, well, where'd that come from, But if you throw down this next to it, then it became an earthly story with a heavenly meaning. That's the old definition of a parable.
A lot of aha moments.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
Because you'd hear something and it's like, I have nothing to hang that on. And so then he'd tell a parable and then he would tell you what it meant. Now we do this a lot now. It's called analogous teaching.
Yeah.
We make everything analogous. And that's actually what the concept of a parabole or parabole is. And the last word is prophetes. Prophetes. Should be emphasis on the middle syllable. Prophetes. So now you have 3 assignments. Very simple. You make out a card, just like this, for first declension. You make out a series of vocab cards from 5.1, what I just read here. And then you start on these exercises, and I'll read you a couple of them here. We've still got 8 minutes. I'll read you a couple of them on 5.5. And we will gather together again next week and hear how we did. Okay? Yes, please.
So, when we're doing our first declension card, do we do just this one? Or do we do this? What
You
are
can.
these?
This is the most common, but there are some spelling variations, and then this is the masculine. Oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. I'm sorry. Good point. This one at the top of your exercise is an example of the first declension masculine. So you have first declension variation, and then first declension masculine. But they're all basically the same. Tone, taste, toss, they're all, see?
So is the variations masculine or feminine?
It is a variation here too.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, it's a variation of the same. The giveaway here is going to be it's going to have a masculine pronoun, or a masculine article. Go ahead.
So, I'm noticing it takes a while, obviously, to learn the vocab. And
Yeah.
You have to keep checking even on some of these, sentences.
Oh, yeah.
But I think with the familiarity, I think just with time.
It will. Oh, you should go over vocab every day. And then what I would do, and here, honestly, here's what I do. I'd have like right now you'll have 3 of these because you've got a present indicative active and then you have second declension, first declension.
Uh-huh.
my typical thing, I'd flip through all my vocab. And I'd miss a couple, so I'd go through them again. Then I'd set my vocab cards aside. Then I'd take my paradigm cards and I lay them out right on top of my book, just like that. And then I have my sheet right here and I started my homework. Now, let me tell you something, because I don't want you doing this. It's easy at first, and it will be a killer later. You know the joke about the guy who was painting lines on the highway? And the first day he got 3 or 4 miles done, but then every day after that it just kept getting shorter and shorter and shorter. The boss couldn't figure out that he was getting lazy. He said, man, you know how far back it is to the can of paint. Didn't bring the can with him. Well, that's what's going to happen if you look back into the chapters for your meanings of words, if you didn't know them. In the back of your book, in Greek alphabetical order, is a glossary. Go ahead and start using it. Every word that you're studying begins, oh, that's the verb, sorry. Here. See? Greek, English, vocab. Every word you're learning is just on those pages right there.
Frequency in the New Testament.
I have some interesting things in there. But learn to use the dictionary. Don't try to go back, because by the time you get to chapter 15 or so, nope, it's not in 13, nope, it's not in 12, nope, it's not in 11. I mean, it's a long ways back that paint can. And so the best thing to do is to bring it with you and just start right away looking up your words in a one-line vocab dictionary. It will pay you later when you do get your lexicon to know the Greek alphabet that well.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me read you a couple of sentences. These are fun. Ha apostolos didaskai parabolai tois anthropos. The apostle, he is teaching a parable to the men. Now here, number 2, it's an interesting one because it's not got the correct word order. Blepai hamathetes ton prophetein te ecclesia. The disciple, he is seeing the prophet by the church. Now, I know what is the subject because I reach down there and grab my nominative. Now, mathetes is a first declension feminine, or a first declension masculine, and I know that because the nominative singular article is right there. Ha mathetes. First declension, mathetes, first declension, but as a masculine nominative article. Ha mathetes. So I know it's a boy first declension. Not a girl first declension. A boy first declension. Okay? Hoi huioi ton anthropon genoskusun agapein kai alethian kai taskafas. The sons of the men, they are knowing love, truth, and the scriptures. Aren't these fun? I really feel like I'm robbing you of this week's joy by reading these to you.
Can you repeat it?
I should overcome that
Rob me
urge.
again, please.
Rob for me some more. Okay, one more. Let me look and see if there's really one that I'd like to read to you. Yes, there is. Number 10. I'm going to read it to you straight. Then I'm going to unpack it for you and show you how important it is that you know the cases. Here we go. Number 10. Tan kurion blepai ha'angelos kai genoskai tein himerani renes. The angel, he is seeing the Lord. Not the Lord is seeing the angel, even though that's the order. Because the Lord is accusative, boom. And ha-angelos is nominative, boom. So the angel is seeing the Lord, not the Lord is seeing the angel. Nominative, accusative. The angel is seeing the Lord, and he can only refer back to the nominative. He is knowing the day of peace. Lost my page there. And he is knowing the day of peace. Okay?
what you're saying is if the nominative is stuck somewhere else in the
It could
sentence,
be the last word.
it's still the subject.
Still the subject. Yep. Every time, always.
Do you have anything besides context to know between big L, little L,
Nope.
Lord?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. I tell you what, in Spanish, if you've ever heard a guy pray in Spanish, he starts out with El Señor. And I thought at first, well, that's not very worshipful, just saying Mr. You know, but in Spanish, it's the same thing.
He's
El Señor.
classifying Lord later as, you know,
As the Lord Jesus. But at first, it's Sir or Lord.
that's kind of their way of saying Father.
Yeah.
In a sense of,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, we actually, our word senior comes from that.
Yeah.
And it's the idea of an elder or one of respect. And so it's honorific in its function. But it was funny to me to hear, you know, when somebody was praying in Spanish. I knew enough what they were saying, and I realized, yeah, there probably isn't another word for that. That's probably is the word. And so the qualification of, you know, it's like a judge, you know, Your Honor, and all of a sudden that means something. You know, he walks in, people stand up, so, or she. And so, you know, it's because of the respect of the office. And so the person filling the office actually gives the dignity to the word. Okay? All right, listen to me carefully. Michael at gracebiblecolumbia.org. You just shoot me a note. I responded to Ron this week a couple of times.
Mike at Grace.
Michael.
Michael.
Michael at gracebiblecolumbia.org. Mhm. And if all else fails, call Diana. She'll run me down. She knows where I am 24/7.
That'd be helpful. Shoot you an email.
Yeah, shoot me an email and say, I am stuck. Oh, one last thing. I know, I think I said this, but I've got to say it again. I do not have any additional time for more counseling. So, here's the rule. No more than 5 minutes on any sentence, okay? I'm not going to be held accountable for your marriage counseling or the loss of family and friends because you're spending 4 hours on this lesson. 5 minutes per sentence, bring what you got. I'll explain it when you get here. Okay, I mean it. I'm serious. I want you to enjoy this. This is not, this should be an hour and a half. Flip through your vocab, lay out your paradigms, and do it. Now, review vocab every day, like what you were saying. Review vocab every day, and then all you have to wrestle with when you do homework is a paradigm. But if you only do homework 1 day a week, you got 2 mountains to climb. You're looking at, I don't know, and I don't know why. If you do know the words, you can at least start to figure out why. But if you don't know and you don't know why at the same time, that gets pretty difficult for anybody. So, vocab every day, you know, put them on a little ring, take them to the bathroom. Don't do it while you drive. Have somebody else drive and you do it. Always take them to the barber shop. Certainly take them to the license bureau. Anywhere you have to stand in line. I had an old man tell me one time, now with the Lord, he says, Mike, only you can waste your time. And I thought, that's pretty smart. I should have thought of that myself. So everywhere I went, I took my stuff. If you make an appointment with me, you cannot waste my time. If you're 5 minutes late, you'll get there and read something else. I'm serious. I'm not mad at you or you know, I will not. I had papers today at lunch. Waiting to, because I was reviewing some of my book club stuff.
What do you do to rest?
Read.